It's almost like you took everything I like about ska punk and kind of bottled it up and shook it up and poured it into a new glass over ice. I'm just wondering, like, what other cool stuff does this band have? Welcome back to Low End University. I get the feeling this song is way overdue, considering it undoubtedly defined the sound of the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. Before you ask, no, I never owned that game. I owned one skateboarding game, and it was Street Sk8er. Was that like the great value version of Tony Hawk? I think so. Either way, I'm actually grateful I played that instead, but that's a whole nother story I've already covered many times. I heard Goldfinger's track Here in Your Bedroom on the early side of this punk rock exploration, and after that, I guess they kind of fell through the cracks and I haven't circled back. However, our Patreon community voted Superman into first place last month, which is from the band's second studio album, Hangups, released in 1997. You can thank them for my return to Goldfinger. Off we go. Ooh. My gosh, that snare is loud. Maybe I just have the volume cranked. That's how it should be. But, man, it cuts through. It has that really high tuning. I think I remember that from Here in Your Bedroom. The way that started, too, was kind of similar with the snare roll, I believe. But it, in the nature of the uplifting sound I hear introduced by the guitars and like that ska sound, just the higher tuned snare just makes it so much more brighter. Like, it's contributing melodically from the drums, tuning almost. Okay, let's start that one over. Now I'm ready for it. Go. Really nice production, though, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, that's so epic. That really nice writing and the chord progression there. The bass actually has kind of a gritty sound. You know, I'm expecting this really dry, warm, like slapstick ska production that I've really come to love, Less Than Jake, Suicide Machines and stuff. But the bass actually has a nice beefiness underneath. I really like the chord progression. It just kind of makes you smile. I feel like I say that every time this happens, but that's why I like coming back to these bands. Okay, what's that progression? Okay, I think it's... Oop, gotta actually turn the... I do that every time too. Okay. Back to, I think, 1. Is that D? Goes up to the... I think that was it. Let's see if I can play along. Horns? Yes! Ooh, E. Cool. All right. Ah, still gnarly. I like that. The nights are long. I'm singing the song to try and make the answers more than maybe. This is like perfect in terms of production. And that's huge just because you can really hear everything so clearly. I like this bass tone. I like that it starts walking. I honestly didn't expect that. Man, this just puts a smile on my face. The walking, it almost has like that, what I was talking about, No Effects, All Out of Angst, just plucking a brain cell because that was a walking bass line that had that type of format where it's not really arpeggiating, it's more linear. Those really grab you because all of a sudden you get this really nice resolve and the bass didn't really bring you there. It just kind of shows up. So it's almost like a melody wandering off in the distance, but it doesn't go too far. Tone-wise, we'll get to that in a second. I want to hear it a bit more. This is just like eating a nice piece of cake. Like you just kind of feel good. Like I just kind of want to listen to it again. Okay. So here I am, doing everything I can, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman. Superman. That quick drop. That's kind of angular in the vocals. I'm trying to keep the ground on my feet. It seems the world's what a great bass tone. Wow. The nights are long. I'm singing the song to try and make the answers more than maybe. A little Hammond organ in there. Okay, what's cool about this is I was referring to that dry, warm slapstick thing. I think when it started off in the intro, it had that spaciousness. Okay, but as things have filled in, it's actually a pretty dense orchestration. The bass tone contributes a lot to that. There's obviously some organ happening, but you don't hear that separation between the upbeats on the guitar. Normally, that's a really airy separation in songs like this. So this is kind of regal and just feels thicker than other bands that do this sound. And at times there was some distorted guitar chords mixed with the upbeats. So they don't cut through like some other bands do, but they're introduced in the intro kind of by themselves, so you know they're there. Let me dive into this bass line. One more time, I'll let it play, and then we'll go back. Okay. What do I do for tone on this? I'm trying to keep the ground on my feet. It seems the world's falling down around me. The nights are all long. I'm singing the song to try and make the answers more than maybe. And I'm so confused about what to do. Sometimes I wanna throw it all away. So here I am, growing old. Cool. Now we're just in 8 notes. All the time, feeling younger in my mind. And here I am, doing everything I can, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman. Cool framework things here, song-wise, like the walking bass line. Like I'm kind of wondering, is that just a one-time thing? So from my ear, what's cool about what happened here is that you're drawn to that bass line, right? It's been very root note heavy. And then it goes into the... that kind of thing, and like your attention is just drawn to that immediately. Then it goes back to simplicity. And as soon as I didn't have something to focus on in the bass line, it kind of stepped back. That's when that melody hook came in the pre-chorus of the vocals, and you're just like turned to the melody. So it's like a cool handoff there, and the melody got so intense in the vocals. It just shifts your attention a lot in a really cool way. Let me just go back and go into that and just kind of show you what I mean. Hey, with this little part here. Did I hear bass doing that? Either way. Okay, now it's back to simple. Here I am, growing older all the time, looking older all the time, all the time. That's catchy. Just the intensity, the doubling of the vocals. I think there's a little harmony baked in there, and it just comes in and grabs you. Just where you're like, oh, the bass is a little simplified. Nope, the vocals come in with some banger melody. All the time, looking older all the time, feeling younger in my mind. And here I am, horns back in. Everything I can, holding on to what I am. This is a great song. Now tone's different. Doesn't have that kind of grand piano grittiness. Not complaining, but I like that change up. You know, sometimes you'll go into like a dynamic bridge section, right? And the tone will still be like creaking along with grit like it was. And I don't know, sometimes that's a stylistic choice musically, but I like when the tones can kind of match and bring the song down with it. So, you know, I'm thinking, is this like a P bass with a lot of grit and maybe plucked closer to the bridge to get that snarly sound out of a P bass, or is it a jazz bass, or is it something else I'm not thinking of? But I feel like it's probably a P or a J. The cool thing about this bomber bass, go follow them on Instagram. Joe from Lagwagon, he has a new company. Him and this killer painter Designer Tanner Leeser have this company. They built me a bass. I've been using it. I'm loving it. It's great because I can get those PJ sounds now that I couldn't get with just a P bass or with the Jackson bass. Of course, I got the Stingray if I need that. So I'm trying to just get all the tools in the toolbox. Nonetheless, this has the best of both worlds. It's P, J. I can turn each one off. Turn the P pickup on. Now you have that thing. This sounds like a blend of both, and it's got a little bit of grit on it. I might as well go ahead and turn that on. But I don't want a ton of, I don't know, is it a mid-range play? Let me just kind of pull the treble back. Now that's too mid-range. I'm going to scoop it. Now we're getting there. It's a little honky for me. I just got to get the voicing right. Okay, I'm going to let it go a bit. Got this little bass thing coming up.
I'm trying to sleep. I lost count of sheep. My mind is racing faster every minute. What could I do more?
Who's an Oz?
I'm really not sure. I know I'm running circles, but I can't quit. And I'm so confused about what to do. Sometimes I want to throw it all away, controlling everything in sight. Feeling
Not expect that.
I don't feel right. Telling me I have to change, telling me to act my age. But if all that I can do is just sit and watch time go, then I'll have to say goodbye. Life's too short to watch it fly, so watch it fly. So here I am, growing old.
They borrowed the flat 3 from D minor. I went for that F, that off chord. Man, there's just so much going on. It's almost like you took everything I like about ska punk and kind of bottled it up and shook it up and poured it into a new glass over ice. This is this song, I think. The production's great. The guitar work's great. The chord progressions are interesting. The bass tone is great. The bass lines are great. The bass is varied. The vocal melodies are killer. Man, I'm just sleeping on Goldfinger. I feel like that's a band again. People were like, here in your bedroom really early on. And so I covered that track, and I just never heard much else until the Patreon community voted this in. I know Mike Herrera plays in this band now, and I've really come to love his work with MXPX. I've reviewed a few tracks on the channel here. Of course, I know he's got the new signature Stingray Sterling model out now. It's got that bright orange. It looks great. I got to play it in person at NAMM. I'm just wondering, like, what other cool stuff does this band have? Because there's so many bands like Goldfinger on the channel where I just touched on one song and it just didn't cut through enough. Out of sight, out of mind. This is great. There's almost so much I just don't want to take forever. The bass line is cool. Again, the tone changed. It was like an iteration of the walking part from earlier, so it's like I have to turn all this off to kind of get in that zone. I might even pull back the P tone, and the P pickup right here, and leave a little more of that jazz pickup because it has more of that punchy jazz thing happening. See, that's even too much. So maybe like... I don't know what he was doing there, and then it just off to the races with so much cool stuff. I'm just gonna take it all in, start here. Okay. Yeah, this thing. What? Yep. Cool way to get back to D major. There's too much cool shit packed into this 3-minute song. Now they're doing this. Is the bass doubling that? Is it going like... That's kind of what it sounds like, but we haven't quite heard that texture yet.
Everything I can, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman.
All right. Hell yeah. First impressions, that's one of my favorite songs I've reviewed in a while. There's always that song that comes around every few months. And as fate would have it, it just really sticks. Again, I'm a sucker for everything the song had to offer anyway, so it wasn't hard. But I don't remember Here in Your Bedroom having this flair. I kind of remember the bass line. You know, it had some rhythmic similarities to this one, but it's good to get back to Goldfinger. This video could have been a lot longer. There's just so many nice ways they recycled certain themes. Like, I feel like that walking bass line never really came back in its original form. And I had a suspicion of that because it started walking, and I thought, okay, we're building. And then I talked about it went back to just simplicity like the beginning. I thought, that's kind of strange. Why would they do that? Well, it's because they brought the walking bass line back in a bunch of different ways you didn't expect. Like when the breakdown happened and the bass tone cleaned up, that was like the walking bass line. It kind of had that riffiness about it, the note cadence. I thought, okay. But then at the end, that was the walking bass line with this cool subdivision, guitar palm muting on top of it. Almost like that canon in D, like lyrical nature to it. And that's how they brought it back. And I didn't even really realize it until I sat there for a few minutes after the song ended so abruptly. I was just kind of like, where's it going next? Goldfinger, Superman. Just feel like it's an obligatory song that I've taken forever to get to. Thank you guys so much on Patreon. This really made my day. It's Friday. I'm filming this. It's nice outside. Yeah, it's a perfect song to do today. If you want to be a part of this, come hang out on Patreon. It's the best way to support the channel. I have bass lessons, music theory lessons, a great community, obviously, who voted this in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's what I was trying to say. Hit the bell notification, like the video. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one.